if you grew up, right, and you know the color green is green, but your whole family telling you green is brown, and everybody you know telling you green is brown, and you go your whole life thinking green is brown, you're gonna walk up to somebody and they're like, yo, that what color is that? And you're gonna say brown. So I really just use that little example as to say that a lot of racism is a learned behavior. It's taught from past generations. We need to continue stepping out of just being simple minded and just having that way of thinking that we don't need each other, or like that hateful vibe that so many people give off. And I'm saying you have black prejudice people who don't like white people and people from different cultures, and you have Chinese prejudice people who are very prejudiced. I don't like to use the word racist because a lot of people don't know that racist is only able to be used on a race of people that can be imposed upon. So if you don't even have enough power, you literally can't be racist because you can't affect a race enough to be racist, if that makes any sense. And a lot of times, you know, people just use words over time and they hear words a certain way for so long that when they practice so much out of context, it becomes normal. So people think that's how you're supposed to talk, but that's not it. Not it at all. I'm gonna let this lady cook because it's relevant and it's something we all need to, take a look into.
Who made me see that reality did not line up with what my mom was trying to teach me. The straw that broke the camel's back was sometime around the ages of between 7 and 9. I was planning a birthday party, and I told my mom that I want to invite my friend Keisha, which I knew was going to be an issue, but I thought I would try. And she said no, and I said, fine, then I don't want to have a birthday party, and she made me have the birthday party. So now that felt like that's not only cruel to me, but that's cruel to my friend Keisha, whom you don't even know because you refused to meet her. Shortly after that, we were walking in the mall, and my mom did this thing that she often did, which is she sees black people minding their own business, and under her breath, she mumbles a derogatory term in Chinese for black people. And I remember I pulled back on her hand and faced her, and I said, they are not doing anything. You don't know them. The next time you do that, I am going to go up to them, and I'm going to tell them what you said. And believe it or not, the fear of exposure by me actually made her tone it down, and she stopped doing that in public. Fortunately, my mom did not live and die that way. In later years, she came around to seeing and later openly admitting how wrong she was. In her older age, one of her best friends really was black, and my mom admitted to her friend what her previous attitudes had been and why. And from those conversations, I was able to gain some insight as to what my mom's motivation was for her anti-Blackness. Because I think most people feel, since Asian Americans also are harmed by white supremacy, how does it make any sense for Asian Americans to be anti-Black? My mom spent most of her young life in Hong Kong when it was under British occupation, and then in the 1950s, she came to the United States when she was 16 years old. Generations before my mom, her family had been living in and doing business around Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Macau, which were French, British, and Portuguese occupied areas. So she was heavily indoctrinated into anti-Blackness in Hong Kong, where she had no exposure to black people that would have shown her a different reality. And furthermore, what she was indoctrinated into is the idea that an Asian can elevate their status in white spaces by aligning with white supremacy, which includes aligning with anti-Blackness. So I think what my mom was doing with me is that from a young age, she saw that I was having a hard time as an Asian American assimilating. So she felt that if I associated with black classmates, that would make assimilating into white spaces even harder. And she was concerned that associating with black classmates would negatively impact my status in white spaces. Well, we all know with me that the outcome was I understand very clearly what spaces I want to be part of and what spaces I don't. So my mom was really proud that she was westernized. She was proud that she spoke English without.
I'm glad we got some insight on this young lady. This is Evans from Kenya Commentaries. I don't even know if this is particularly the channel of the young lady who was just speaking, but she gave real insight onto what she was taught growing up, right? And she came from a certain part of the world where, they was colonized as well. And she said to move up the ladder, they had to assimilate with white people. So to survive for years, and to elevate, they had to assimilate with white people. Generationally, this is continued and is taking a mold today. And now you see a lot of Asian Americans will freely talk to and deal with white people. And then when it comes to black people, it's not something that, is always a pleasant thing, because they look down upon us. They call us lazy. They say we can't do certain things. But now we get to see that this was a taught behavior. Why? Because the generation before taught her, and the generation before that taught her mother. So let's be serious. And this is why we got to tackle real issues and talk about real things. Too much of this fake stuff and this fake news and all of this stuff is on YouTube. And we not talking about connecting each other. And we not talking about actually building a community together and doing things that can actually make us better as a people. Now, I may not have the most subscribers and I may not have the most following behind this, but I believe whoever jumps on board and follows this wave and is part of this community is somebody that's real and authentic to themselves. So if you're not somebody that's real and authentic to yourself, this is not the channel for you. This is not where you want to be. This is not what you want to hear. So I advise you to steer in a different direction. You understand what I'm saying? Man, I am the president. Nah, I'm fronting. I'm the mayor, but this is not an election. But I ain't gonna be rhyming all day for y'all, you know what I'm saying? Y'all gonna have to pay for them bars, you know what I'm saying? Nah. But seriously though, I just am all about bridging the gap. I'm all about communicating and connection. And I listen, I want to communicate with some Asian people. Shoot, they could teach me some stuff. You know what I'm saying? You'd be surprised what they know. Shoot, they came up with gunpowder. It's they for everybody really dying. They came up with the gunpowder stuff. But honestly, each one teach one. We could all learn from each other. But I really wanted to get into this lady's story about how her mother was putting pressure on her not to have a black friend, and she still went out and had a black friend and brought her home. But this is a rare occasion. Most kids under that type of pressure would just, go with the right crowd. But as she said, she had problem assimilating. So because she had a problem assimilating, she couldn't fit in with the right crowd. So she went with her black friend. I'm gonna let her continue because it's necessary. I want to continue her story. Her story is really official, honestly.
An accent, that she was very well versed in European culture, and she actually looked down upon my dad for being what she called traditional and therefore backwards. Right, so where was my dad in all of this? My dad grew up in Taiwan, where he had no exposure to black people, but he also had very little exposure to Western media. I think when he came to the United States, he was a bit uncertain around black people because of the lack of familiarity and the slight media bias, but it only took a very little being around black people to see that prejudice is irrational and that it serves a white supremacist agenda that he doesn't want to uphold. As I said before, in my household, it wasn't physically or emotionally safe to voice opinions that differed from my mom, so I do understand why my dad didn't speak up when my mom was being anti-black. He had a hard enough time keeping my brother and I safe. However, what he would do is when it was just my dad and I, he would make sure to teach me or give me resources about accurate black history. So, for example, a lot of my mom's rhetoric surrounded musicians. So my dad would teach me about Berry Gordy, Chuck Berry, Marian Anderson, Jesse Norman. If the claim was that black people don't value education, he would tell me about black scholars, academics, and scientists, and so on. So that, in a nutshell, is what I was told at home behind closed doors when I was growing up.
I hope you're faring well where you are, and please, a white person by the French, they themselves. So assimilation really, really convinced Africans that we weren't enough and we needed the white people. The same thing happened in other cultures. It happens in other traditions. The Chinese also, they were colonized by the British, by the Japanese.
We see it. So this happened in different parts of the world, right? Now we all know we really can't save the world, and there's a lot of. I'm not gonna say we can't save the world, but you can't do much without understanding, right? You can't move without understanding. So Rome wasn't built in a day. So right now, what I'm getting from this is a basic understanding that in Asia, in Africa. I'm quite sure in all of the tropical islands like Barbados, St. Kitts, the Virgin Islands. Like, it doesn't even matter. You had to be integrated into their culture. They call it assimilation. So what they basically did was make you feel like if you assimilated with their culture, you could rise to power. And this is what happened in these countries, but I see it happen right here in America. I see it happen more in America than anywhere else, because if you don't join a certain type of a mold or a certain type of way of thinking, you're immediately cast out of certain circles. See, me, I'm been a very open-minded person with the type of friends I allow to be my friends. Like, I'm not the type of person you have to agree with me for me to have an understanding of you as a person and to care about you and your worldviews, even though they don't particularly align with mine. And a lot of times I think people write themselves off and cut relationships off too much because we simply disagree about one or two things that we strongly feel about. But if you go through your Rolodeck as people and discuss some of the stuff that you have cares and concerns about, you'll find that a lot of the issues, not only the issues, but some of the good things that are going on is happening in both of y'all lives, because we're all human beings and we all have certain things that we have in common. Everyone has to go find food, everyone has to go shopping, everybody has to go find a way to get some money, everybody has to find a way to eat, right? So that being said, we have to keep in mind that motion is very, very important. And I'm saying motion because with motion, understand that our grandparents was part of assimilation. Understand they come from my people from Barbados. They came over here thinking, yes, you probably gotta act like this and do this so you get a certain job. And then when you get a certain job, you hang with these people so that if you hang with these people, like, see me, I love all people. Like, I'm not about to preach hate, and I'm not about to preach going against nobody. You know what I'm saying? I'm not about to preach that. What I will preach is that, we need to get together and get some money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not with it. Like, but what I will say is I'm not dumb neither. I know when to pick a side. I know when to pick a side. I'm not a hater, but I'm not a foolish man neither. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing foolish about me. So I just try to be wise. And part of me having wisdom is being able to open my mind up and see the differences and how different people from different parts of the world look at things. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm about. This is Frederick the Mayor. This is a program. This is something that's gonna let you get to see it and you can watch it over and over and again and get some type of understanding and pull some substance from it. Because getting on these platforms, I don't think people really take into account how important they are and how you should really wear that and own that and be thankful that you have the opportunity to do such a thing. Because it's one thing to do it, but then it's another thing to be able to do it, good at it, and act proud of the work you actually doing. And a lot of times people just do whatever to get famous, and they cutting themselves short, because a lot of these people are very, very talented. There's a lot of talented people that will cut or do whatever they feel like is going to make them hot at that moment. But when do we give time and focus to being timeless, to actually putting something together that's going to stand the test of time? And when you start to dig into different people, no matter the color of their skin, and you start to go through each of those different people's history, you'll find a lot of differences, but you're gonna also find a lot of things that are the same. I know when I was young, my grandmother definitely told me, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we don't hate white people, but you shouldn't trust white people neither. That's what I was told. Yes, my grandmother told me that, God rest her soul. You know what I'm saying? So, is that a fact? Is that something that I live with, that I ran with, that's true? Nah, it is certain white people that I do have a certain level of trust with, and I can trust them in certain areas better than some of my black friends. But I don't want us to get out of context with this, because I'll make a statement like that and then everybody like, oh, he love white people and all that. And I love the people that I know that are in my life that have been significant people in my life. I love all of those type of people. I don't put a skin color on the people that really matter to me. But again, don't be foolish. Know when to, draw the line and say, well, I gotta be doing this. But y'all let me know. We gonna take a look at some of these comments real quick. Let's take a look at the comments, all right? So we got um not a single black person is surprised. Trust me. We know, I've been followed around shops enough to know. It says at Black Thought 6133. Oh, he said everybody wants our rhythm, but nobody wants our blues. That was tough. That was a tough comment right there. Shouts out to Black Thought. Large topic. Anti-blackness is everywhere. I just don't care anymore. Trying to persuade people to change their minds is such a waste of time and energy. Yeah, that might be a fact. You know what I'm saying? I don't really feel like it's the time to really. Well, I wouldn't say that's a whole fact, but what I would say is I don't feel it's time you should stress yourself about trying to convince somebody of your worldviews, whatever they are. Stop convincing people about your worldviews. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, respectfully. But to stay on topic, though, I shouldn't say we don't want to hear it. Don't infringe your worldviews on people. You know what I'm saying? Moving on. But we got at Kea 6918, as black people, we already know this about Asian people. All right. But did you know that Asian people are gaining understanding and enlightenment just like other black people and other people from other cultures all across the world? Did you know that? All right, moving on. I'm Black American, and I was never raised or told by anyone in the community to hate or discriminate against any race or ethnicity, but to embrace and educate myself in culture, customs as an individual. It's sad because no one is born hating anyone based on race and orientation. That's a fact. No one is born hating anybody. Babies are born innocent. We see it every day. Nobody is gonna just hate you just because. You gotta be taught to hate somebody. That's a learned behavior. Hating is a learned behavior. So that's why when I see haters in the street, like I be like, yo, like who taught you how to hate like that, yo? Like you ain't y'all. You learn from the wrong big Harvey. He's a hater. First of all, you should not even be hanging out with those haters. Like for real. Like hating. Like that's whack. Like haters that got money usually got money for a season. They may have it for a couple seasons, but and it's not even, I don't even look at money as riches. Like if you a rich person, you are all around. Your riches come all around. You're gonna have enough money, you're gonna have enough shelter, you're gonna have enough of everything you need. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna be able to be yourself at the same time. That's really what's rich. When you got the bag and you can be yourself, that's really rich. Right? But let's keep moving on. All right. It says, I'm Asian. This is at Michael Tran 2743. I am growing up in the 80s and 90s and bullied by other Asian kids. Guess who stood up for me? A black kid and his brother. My family and his family are still friends to this day. Yeah, that's official. Like I had like Spanish friends. Well, I think I had a friend from Indonesia. I never get his name was Zaul. Never get shouts out to Zaul. Zaul, you can hit me up. You my man, Zaul. Fuck you. Yeah. Oh, sorry. TikTok. I don't think I be cursing on TikTok. But yeah, Zaul is my man. Yeah, and I stick up for Zaul. You ain't gonna put your hands on Zaul. Know what I'm saying? But real talk though, black people, we got mad love in our heart, man. I don't like how they try to just let us just look bad and they try to make us seem like we be hating everything moving. Nah, they take these groups of people that may have mental health issues. Let's keep it real. Young dudes in the hood go through a lot of stuff mentally and they don't really have nobody to run to, so they do outlandish crazy things, man. And people don't want to hear they cries for help. But I'm gonna move on, and then I'm gonna move on to a different topic, or I might let them continue a little bit more. It says, same for Hispanic people. I had a class where the majority were Hispanic, and during the circle discussion about race, one girl mentioned how her parents told her to stay away from black people. Suddenly, the whole class mentioned that their parents told them the same thing. That is crazy. So we see that this is going on. You know what I mean? This is going on. It's not just in the Asian community. This is not just in the Italian community. The young lady said, shouts out to at Pink Addiction 13. She said, you know what I'm saying? She was in the classroom and her Spanish friends admitted to her that her parents told her to stay away from blacks. And I have friends that are Spanish that are very good friends of mine, and they have openly admitted that their parents has told them to stay away from blacks. And it's fine. We already been past that. And I'm gonna keep it real. I know a lot of black parents who tell their mother, tell their kids, don't be messing with the little Spanish kids like that. You know what I mean? It could get, and they don't always say it that nicely neither. So we gonna cut it some slack for the hood, because let's keep it real. It's always been like little tensions with Spanish and black, especially like when the blocks we hustling. But for the most part, we, especially I'm from New York City, so we pretty much get along. But every once in a while, you gonna see clashes. But those are as far as I'm concerned, those are not race clashes anymore. Those are like, well, I don't know. I can't really call that because a lot of that stuff be gang stuff. I pretty much stay out of the gang stuff. I don't really like touching on too much of the gang stuff because you don't wanna just out your people. Like me, I'm not the guy that wanna just out his people. I'm not with just like talking bad about somebody because they're in a gang. I know some gang members that did a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of gang members that really was part of my life and actually helped me to stay out of gangs. I ain't gonna lie, I met some dudes who actually in my journeys they helped me stay out of gangs. I didn't get into gangs because certain gang members. It was like nah. It was certain missions that I wanted to go on that dudes knew that I wasn't particularly ready for at that moment in my life, and they didn't let me go on those missions. And though that was a blessing for me because I'm here today, and they have predicaments behind that same mission. So you gotta always be able to open your mind, open your heart, and have discernment and understanding. Because I'm not with letting nobody push me over, come take my energy and use me for the sake of us being friends and we from a different race and we want to have this look and kumbaya and fake it, fake it, fake it. Nah, I don't want to do that. I want real friends. I want real togetherness. I want real understanding. You know what I'm saying? And I want all of the like-minded people that really want to band together and do great things in this world together, no matter what color or creed you are, to come and be a part of something special. This is a community here, man. This is Frederick the Mayor, man. And please tap in with me and let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and please leave a comment. We are here tackling real issues that's going on in the urban community. These are the things that I personally feel strong about. And let me know what I'm wrong about. And at the end of the day, I want us to keep going, and I want us to keep growing, and I want us to keep flowing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's real important that we have a connection. You know what I'm saying? We have to have some level of a collective consciousness to where we not in a rush to hurt our brother, whether he wear our color or not. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we can become a lot more organized and a lot more understanding to people like me personally. I have to reach out to my own personal people a lot more. If you haven't reached out to your people in a little while, reach out to your people. Go look in your phone book for some old cousins. Y'all have some memories. Take some time out one weekend and just run through and call everybody. And I'm going to take my own advice. And you know what I'm saying? And we going to see how that do. Y'all let me know in the comments if that worked out. Man, go hit some old family members in there and ask them some questions about what they learned. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you ask questions about what your grandfather was taught, what your grandmother was taught, and let them speak freely. And you'll be surprised what you get. And I'm talking about from all coaches, but I'm gonna keep it real with you. It was never really big taught in my personal family to hate any race of any kind. Me personally, I have to put that out there. But I have seen that in my community with other people's families. But I just have to be honest. I can't have the internet thinking that my family was part of that, because I'm gonna keep it real with you. I have a lot of Spanish people in my family. I have Cubans in my family. I definitely got more Puerto Ricans than anything in my family, and I have Dominicans in my family. And I'm talking about blood related members. So that being said, we have to understand who we are and stop using separatism and stop finding every excuse to be separate and do separate things and things that do not promote strength. Because let me tell you something, a house divided cannot stand. So if you supposed to be together, it's like a big puzzle. But you over here and you over here, that puzzle will never be completed because you never got the piece together. But again, this is Frederick The Mayor TV. Like and subscribe. I'm out for this segment.